Hello, Fanlanders. I would like to introduce Dr. Brian Salinas. Today we're going to consult with him regarding the character Black Jack. I think we're all very interested in what makes a character such as Black Jack tick. Brian, you've watched the Outlander episodes. What psychological diagnosis would you give Black Jack, considering that he is a characterization?
Being that he's a characterization, he's not necessarily going to truly fit neatly into a real diagnosis. But I think what the author was going for was trying to present somebody who is antisocial personality disorder and somebody who had sadistic habits.
What are some of the characteristics of an antisocial diagnosis?
So, antisocial personality disorder, sort of in this high-level nutshell, is somebody who does not believe the laws of the land, apply to him. So here in the United States, laws against murder, against crime, they don't believe that those laws apply to them. And so they have no sense of guilt or remorse if they hurt somebody, or if they steal from somebody, or they do things to violate the laws. So we see that Black Jack, in the show, he had no issue with violating Jamie's personal space. Hurting Jamie, really setting Jamie up to have his lands taken from him by framing him for that murder.
What is the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath?
Okay, so a lot of people are familiar with the term sociopathic and psychopathic. Okay, sociopath and psychopath. Well, see, antisocial personality disorder kind of encompasses those two different types of ways of thinking about people who are willing to hurt others. What people don't understand is those two words are not really so much interchangeable. A sociopath is somebody who, shall we say, is created by society, created by events. An example would be somebody who grew up in a neighborhood where violence was the only way to keep yourself safe, to get things that you need, like food or keeping your shelter. A psychopath is somebody who, it doesn't matter what environment they come from, they just seem to not have a sense of guilt, not have a sense of remorse, and they're very okay with being willing to hurt other people. So they're born that way.
Who in our society fits this characterization of Black Jack?
Well, the person that comes to mind to me is that gentleman Castro in Cleveland who kidnapped those three and held hostage those three ladies, and one of them was like for 10 years because he had no sense of guilt or remorse about and no thought that what he was doing was wrong. And it's my understanding that in the beginning he did torture them to get them to break so that they would be too afraid to run. And obviously, since First Lady did bear him a child, I believe it was the First Lady who bore him a child, he was getting his sexual pleasures from them as well. Now, what I don't know is if he tied the sexual pleasures into the torture like we see Black Jack do with Jamie, okay? Not only was Black Jack getting sexually aroused from the pain he was inflicting on Jamie, and thus the sadist aspect of Black Jack's personality, or characterization, sorry, this other gentleman, we don't know if that element was there. But I would have to say that he's probably the closest I could think of, maybe outside of Jeffrey Dahmer, who would sort of fit the profile that they were going for with Black Jack Randal.
Dr. Salinas, how is Black Jack different from a rapist?
A rapist, sometimes it's about power, sometimes it's about rage, but it's not so much about necessarily breaking the spirit and the will of the other person. Whereas Black Jack was about breaking Jamie's will. He wanted to own Jamie, in body and in soul. And rapists aren't necessarily about that, okay? And Black Jack felt no guilt or remorse about it, whereas a rapist can. And there are times that they do. I would say right there, to me, that's the biggest difference.
Thank you, Dr. Salinas. This information is very interesting, and it helps the fans to understand Black Jack and the depths of evil he is capable of reaching.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure answering your questions and helping people better understand Black Jack Randal.